We picked up a noisemaker to get each other's attention underwater because we can't use lobster ticklers in Bonaire to bang our tanks. We may need to rethink options for Leslie, though. Seriously, I'm surprised whatever she was shooting didn't come grab it from my hand. We chose Buddy's Reef for our third shore dive profile because it's a house reef. It's a third contrast to the sandy shores of the south and the rocky cliff walls to the north. While a lot of Bonaire's dive sites might be described as primitive or rugged, Buddy's Reef is supported by a fully functioning dive resort with all the benefits that come with it. You will still see Bonaire's beautiful nature throughout the landscaped grounds. It's just that there are a few more creature comforts, like a couple of pools, lounge chairs in the sand, and even a drive-through tank pickup. Reef Renewal Bonaire has offices above ground and coral restoration infrastructure below the water. It's a beautiful resort, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And this is not a commercial for the resort. It's a commercial for the diving. However, before we get to that, some of our friends wanted to help out with this week's subscription appeal. Here they are, in a very specific order. All of us would really appreciate your subscription. Thanks. Smiley face. You can find Buddy's Reef in just about the center of Bonaire's west coast. It's a short 1.5-mile drive north of Kralendijk on Kaya Governor Nicholas de Bruyt. Look for the Buddy Dive Resort sign on the left. The traditional yellow dive marker rock is a bit obscured by a larger rock and oddly facing toward the sky. While there is a ton of parking, note that almost all of it is in front of the buildings. We find it easier to quickly drop off our gear at the top of the stairs and then find a parking space, hopefully shaded. All of the dive facilities are downstairs. Diving a house reef comes with a lot of amenities. There are lots of rinse tanks, many of which can handle larger camera gear. Showers are available for rinsing off, and bathrooms are close by. There's also a store with clothing and gear, in case you need something at the last minute. Lockers are reserved for resort guests, but they are airy to help dry your gear. They also have tall racks to hang your wetsuit if you want to grab a bite in between or after your dives. And speaking of bites, Blenny's and Ingredients are two great on-site restaurants. You can either come prepared or assemble your gear anywhere along the waterfront. There are lots of benches, some underneath an awning, as well as several thatch umbrellas with chairs for even more shade. Quick note, if you're not staying at the resort, they ask you to pick up tanks and other rental gear at their downtown dive shop. But if you do stay here, everything you need is just a few steps away. As far as entry goes, there are 2 ladders, or you can do a giant stride off the pier. Pro tip number 1, The steps on the ladder to the north do not go all the way down. Pro tip number 2. If you do go all the way down on the south ladder, watch where you step. You never know when a sand diver might be hiding out underneath. The reef is a very short swim, but note that this is an active dive center with boats going in and out. Be very careful near the surface. Keep your eyes and ears open. Navigating the reef is easy. Just out from the northern entry ladder is a line extending west from the shallows down to 50 feet. At the drop-off, it also branches north and south. As long as you circle back above 50 feet or follow the ridge, you'll know exactly how to get home. If you do go deeper, the shore is 70 degrees east, which means you came out 250 degrees west. The reef begins about 100 feet from shore, after a short swim over a sandy bottom covered with debris, rocks, and occasional coral growth. Small coral heads and gorgonians populate the edge of the shallows, which is followed by a sizable drop-off. Here's a bit of what the slope and underwater life looks like down to 100 feet. As far as reefs go, Buddy's is very nice, but don't forget to save some air for the shallows. Quite honestly, we could spend 90 minutes underwater and never get more than 50 feet from shore. There is just so much to see. Like this anchor, these 2 floating diamonds, scorpionfish, this rare music volute, and lots of boat moorings chock full of sea life. The shallows are also home to a sizable coral restoration effort. Sprinkled near the drop-off are dozens of floating trees, loaded with staghorn and various star coral fragments. While the shallows are strewn with metal frames, serving as the base for even more staghorn coral colonies. After you enjoy the shallows, continue to the property wall. There are cracks and crevices between the stone and cement that offer refuge for all sorts of animals. And don't forget below the docks, those piers provide great hangouts for small schools, individual fish passing through, and small critters that make all those nooks and crannies their home. We have more than a dozen dives at this site, and these are just a few examples of why we keep coming back. We've seen blue tang munching on a spotwing comb jelly, and hunting teams anchored by a sharp-tail eel, exploring hiding places with an entourage of fish ready to capture escaping animals. On one dive, these ocean sunfish casually swam through the shallows under the boats. You don't see those every day. Sometimes the cool stuff is in open water. This was the first Kubera snapper we've captured. Tarpon patrol these waters as well, off the reef, on the reef, in the shallows, and under piers. These were just a few of the special encounters we had at Buddy's Reef. We will have more extended clips in our Diving Bonaire Best Moments Episode 2, so look for that. But don't leave just yet. We have a bunch of shorter clips to give you an idea of what else you can see at this terrific site. Leslie was able to capture these amazing jelly pics. You can check out more of her work on Instagram. Night diving here is a breeze, what with all the resort lights and all. One of the more exciting encounters was this Caribbean reef octopus out for a hunt. This giant anemone must have had a couple dozen squat anemone shrimp living on it. And we noticed a few brittle stars all over this lumpy overgrowing sponge. It was also a great night for crustaceans, as we saw a couple of juvenile clinging crab. Outside of the tarpon overlords, here are some of the other creatures we saw while swimming in the dark. Enjoy!